The basketball community is reeling after Lexie Hull shared a revelation that has completely shaken the public narrative around Caitlyn Clark. In an unexpected turn, Hull exposed surprising insights that revealed a different side of Clark's character, her path to the league, and what is truly unfolding behind closed doors with the Indiana Fever. Fans are left speechless, teammates are exchanging hushed conversations, and social media is buzzing nonstop. What exactly did Lexie disclose, and why is it permanently reshaping how people view Caitlyn? Today, we break down every startling detail emerging from the chaos. Long before the uncertainty and the battle to stay relevant, Lexie Hull was a respected name. At Stanford, she stood out as a relentless competitor, pushing herself to the top and helping secure a national championship. Her presence was commanding, her mindset razor-sharp, and her determination unquestionable. When the Indiana Fever chose her 6th overall in the WNBA draft, it wasn't a gamble. It was a statement of faith. They believed in her basketball IQ, her movement, and her ability to be part of a franchise reset. However, the professional level introduced a harsher reality. The pace, physicality, and non-stop scrutiny of the WNBA tested more than her body. It challenged her mentally. Hull soon found herself spending more time watching than playing, something she had rarely experienced before. As the games passed, her minutes dwindled, and her self-belief followed. The roaring crowds she once energized faded into distant noise. "It plays tricks on your mind," she later admitted, explaining the emotional toll of going from a key contributor to just another listed name. And she wasn't the only one. Every player in the league had once dominated at the college level. Every teammate and opponent had been the standout star. Now, they were all fighting to prove their value all over again. Yet Hull's struggle reflected a deeper issue, one that existed within the Indiana Fever well before her arrival. The franchise wasn't simply dropping games. It was losing confidence. Years of setbacks had slowly rewritten the team's identity. Defeat became familiar, even normal, and the locker room grew heavy with unspoken acceptance. No influx of young talent could hide the lack of accountability or the absence of a winning mindset. Within those walls, the problem was never just missed shots. It was never just about missed shots anymore. The real problem was a loss of direction. Encouragement faded, criticism took its place, and with each passing season, the belief that things could improve grew weaker. Then, like thunder building before a storm, Caitlyn Clark arrived. Her entrance wasn't a routine roster move. It shifted the atmosphere entirely. She carried a presence that demanded attention from every angle. Media coverage exploded, arenas filled, and expectations surged instantly. But for Clark, the moment had nothing to do with headlines or ticket sales. It was deeply personal. The same relentless fire that had defined her career at Iowa now ignited the Fever's locker room. She didn't come to blend into an existing culture. She came to change it. Her commitment to excellence didn't simply challenge a losing mindset. It confronted it head-on. The impact was immediate. Practices intensified. Voices grew louder. The environment crackled with something the team had been missing for years: accountability. Lexie Hull felt it too, not just in Clark's performance, but in her demeanor. On the court and beyond it, Caitlyn carried herself with a focus that commanded attention. "It's honestly amazing getting to know her," Hull would later admit, acknowledging that beneath the spotlight, Clark was steady, thoughtful, and far more mature than most expected given the pressure she carried. But that calm came paired with sharp expectations. She demanded effort, urgency, and honesty from everyone around her. According to those inside the gym, the defining moment came during one of their first practices together. After a stretch of sloppy turnovers, frustration boiled over. Clark abruptly stopped the drill. What followed wasn't encouragement. It was confrontation. Her words were direct, emotional, and aimed at veterans who had grown comfortable. The gym went silent, tension hanging heavy in the air. This wasn't the polished rookie fans saw on television. This was the competitor shaped by years of high-stakes battles. Her message landed hard, exposing issues the team had avoided addressing. The coaching staff found themselves at a crossroads. Their franchise centerpiece was openly challenging the status quo. Her intensity carried risk. There were quiet conversations about pulling her back, softening her edge to restore comfort. But deep down, they understood this wasn't chaos. It was change. In a bold decision, they stepped aside and let her lead. No restrictions. No silencing. Just a calculated belief that her fire might succeed where years of rebuilding plans had failed, forcing the Fever to finally respond. While some teammates struggled with Clark's confrontational approach, Lexie Hull saw opportunity. And what followed would rewrite everything people thought they knew. The awakening. Caitlyn Clark's influence. Lexie Hull's rediscovery. In that charged moment, when uncertainty filled the air, Hull realized something clearly. This was her moment. Not just another drill. Not another game. This was the turning point of her career. Instead of shrinking under Clark's demanding intensity, Hull chose to rise with it. Where others felt overwhelmed, Hull saw a challenge, a chance to reconnect with the competitor she once was. She stayed late after practices, running extra reps, pushing through fatigue, confronting the doubts that had slowly eroded her confidence. When Clark remained on the court, Hull stayed beside her. Their efforts mirrored each other, two different energies aligned toward one goal. Gradually, the change became visible. The spark Hull had lost began to return, and together, they developed a chemistry that energized the floor. Clark's elite vision paired perfectly with Hull's renewed determination. Passes threaded through impossible spaces, angles few could even imagine, and Hull was there to finish the play. What began as tension transformed into trust. Coaches and teammates watched in disbelief as their connection grew almost overnight. Their bond wasn't built on comfort, but on pressure, shaped through confrontation, effort, and shared resolve. Caitlyn changed everything, Hull later reflected, and she meant it. Clark's impact went beyond stats or highlights. It was about belief, urgency, and a contagious will to raise the standard. Hull's comeback became a symbol. If she could fight through doubt and re-emerge, anyone could. Soon, the entire Indiana Fever felt the shift. Aaliyah Boston set stronger screens, confident Clark would find her cutting. Kelsey Mitchell began sprinting every possession, knowing Clark noticed everything. Even role players elevated their effort, driven by the energy now flowing through every practice. The offense evolved. It was no longer predictable or stagnant. It moved with intent, hunger, and unity built on shared trust. But success brought new challenges. As the Fever improved, pressure intensified. Media attention grew relentless. Hull, once unnoticed, now faced constant scrutiny. Every mistake was magnified, analyzed, and debated online. Critics dissected her performance, often forgetting there was a person beneath the jersey still learning to carry the weight of expectations. The noise was overwhelming, but Hull refused to let it break her again. She redirected that pressure into motivation, shaping it into quiet strength. In a rare interview, she admitted that keeping pace with Clark was the hardest challenge of her life. "It changes everything," she said. Each day became a test. Early mornings before dawn, late nights studying film, and endless internal battles against exhaustion and doubt. She learned that greatness isn't glamorous. It's isolating. It demands sacrifices few ever witness. But through it all, something solidified within her. A resilience that no longer depended on approval. She wasn't chasing perfection anymore. She was building permanence. She wasn't chasing validation anymore. She was doing it for herself. But success rarely comes without consequences. As the Fever began rising, admiration across the league slowly twisted into resentment. What once looked like respect for Caitlyn Clark's brilliance turned into open hostility. Defenders stopped playing the ball and started playing the body. Hard fouls became intentional. Cheap shots followed. The message was obvious. If you couldn't shut down her talent, you tried to rattle her resolve. But Indiana wasn't backing down. Lexie Hull, now one of the emotional pillars of the roster, made it clear where she stood. During a heated clash with a seasoned rival, Clark was hit hard, and Hull reacted instantly. She was nose-to-nose with the aggressor in seconds, her voice slicing through the noise. Tempers flared. Benches edged closer. And in that moment, the statement was unmistakable. "Touch Caitlyn, and you answer to all of them." That confrontation marked a turning point. The Fever were no longer a fractured group searching for direction. They had become a hardened unit, bonded through adversity and fiercely loyal. Through Clark's relentless drive and Hull's revived intensity, the team discovered something more powerful than wins. They found trust, unity, and a bond forged through shared battles. The real source of Caitlyn Clark's leadership wasn't found in speeches. It lived in her presence. She didn't need slogans. Her stare after a missed rotation, the sharpness of her passes that demanded readiness, the quiet expectation that everyone meet her level of effort. These became the unwritten laws of her world. Clark didn't gather followers. She created competitors. For Hull, this wasn't simply a return to form. It was a rebirth. The toughness that once defined her days at Stanford had resurfaced, sharpened by the unforgiving nature of the professional game. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was flourishing in one of the league's most demanding environments. And yet, this chapter was only the beginning, because what followed would test more than talent. It would test loyalty itself. Could trust survive when fame threatened to pull everything apart? Stay locked in, because what comes next defies expectations. When spotlight meets sisterhood, the moment Caitlyn Clark entered the WNBA, the Indiana Fever transformed overnight. A team once overlooked suddenly became the center of attention. Tickets sold out instantly. Cameras tracked every move. Social media dissected every play, glance, and comment. Nothing escaped notice. For many teams, that level of exposure could fracture chemistry. Ego, jealousy, and competition for recognition often do the damage. But Lexie Hull noticed something unexpected taking shape. From the first practice, she felt the shift. Clark's arrival didn't just bring elite talent. It brought a tidal wave of attention that could have overwhelmed them all. Instead of letting it divide the locker room, the Fever leaned into it together. Players like Hull, who had already endured the league's harsh realities, understood that resentment was easy, but unity was survival. You could feel how much she changed everything, Hull once reflected. But instead of resisting it, we learned how to move with it. Away from the cameras, the Fever became more than teammates. Late-night meals after road games, long bus rides filled with jokes, and quiet moments in empty gyms built something real. Clark wasn't isolated as a superstar. She was embraced as one of them. Veterans made sure she felt supported. Younger players admired her without losing their own sense of purpose. That balance between respect and equality created something rare. As the season progressed, the chemistry between Clark and Hull evolved into one of the league's most compelling under-the-radar stories. Hull began anticipating Clark's instincts effortlessly. The timing, the movement, the split-second decisions demanded trust, and Hull delivered. Their connection flowed naturally, like a shared rhythm. But beneath that smooth execution was relentless effort, constant communication, and a shared hunger to prove they were more than just a one-player narrative. Then came the moment that tested everything. The day Caitlyn was sidelined with injury. The rhythm shattered. The offense stalled. Opponents clogged lanes, daring Indiana to operate without its centerpiece. For the first time, uncertainty crept back in. It felt like starting over, Hull later admitted. The team drifted, unsure how to recalibrate without their anchor. Performances slowed. Confidence wavered. The spotlight that once energized them now felt unforgiving. But this was where fragile teams collapse and resilient ones rise. Hull refused to let the momentum disappear. She stepped up as the voice the locker room needed. She reminded everyone that the Fever's identity wasn't built on one name. It was built on collective resolve. Practices sharpened. Communication intensified. Each player pushed harder, determined to prove that Indiana was more than just the Caitlyn Clark storyline. Without their star on the floor, they discovered something unexpected. New leaders emerged. The ball moved quicker. Responsibilities shifted. And slowly, they learned how to win in a different way. Trust grew stronger with every challenge. And through that struggle, Lexie Hull uncovered the true meaning of leadership. It didn't come from locker room speeches or dramatic moments. It came from consistency. She arrived before everyone else, stayed long after practices ended, and let her work speak louder than words. When losses weighed heavily on the team, she reminded her teammates that failure wasn't final. It was a measure of resilience. When Caitlyn was out, Hull later explained, "We had to carry her energy, her intensity. That's what kept us going." By the time Clark returned, the Indiana Fever were no longer the same group she had stepped away from. They were stronger, more disciplined, and more connected. The spotlight still followed Caitlyn, but now it shone across the entire roster. Every possession carried intent. Every defensive stop mattered. What once felt like the story of a single star had evolved into a collective rise. As the Fever's chemistry deepened, one truth became undeniable. Their strength wasn't just talent. It was growth. They transformed excitement into cohesion, pressure into progress, and attention into purpose. But the journey was far from complete. What happens when unity, expectation, and fame collide at their highest level? Can even the strongest bonds hold when championship pressure arrives? That question remains unanswered. Stay locked in as the next chapter unfolds. Resilience under fire. In professional sports, resilience often separates promise from greatness. For the Indiana Fever, that resilience has taken shape through two players, Caitlyn Clark and Lexie Hull, each navigating injuries, doubt, and relentless scrutiny, yet refusing to break. Their paths may differ, but they intersect at one defining truth. Adversity can either weaken you or sharpen you. Both chose to be sharpened. Lexie Hull's WNBA journey has been anything but smooth. Early in her career, she faced limited minutes, uneven performances, and recurring injuries that tested both her patience and confidence. During a particularly difficult stretch, she suffered facial injuries that forced her to step away just as she was beginning to find rhythm. Instead of letting frustration take over, Hull used that time to strengthen her mindset. From the sidelines, she studied the game more deeply, watching how possessions unfolded, how teammates communicated, and where she could improve when she returned. At the same time, Caitlyn Clark was dealing with her own challenges. The expectations placed on her were unlike anything most rookies face. She wasn't just entering the league. She was carrying a franchise's hope and drawing constant attention from defenders and media alike. The physical toll mounted quickly. Bumps, exhaustion, and injuries that sidelined her during key moments. Yet what stood out wasn't her absence on the floor, but her influence off it. Hull later spoke about Clark's maturity during that period. Even when she couldn't play, Clark stayed involved, attending practices, breaking down plays, encouraging teammates, and keeping the group focused. She showed that leadership doesn't always come from scoring. Sometimes it comes from presence. Watching Clark face adversity without withdrawing deepened Hull's respect. It reminded her why she loved the game. It reignited her belief that obstacles were meant to be faced, not avoided. When Hull returned from her own injury, she did so with renewed confidence. She played with greater assertiveness, sharper movement, and a louder voice on the court. Clark's style amplified that growth. Her vision created opportunities few players could anticipate, and Hull, now more decisive, capitalized on them. Their connection became natural. Clark threading passes through tight windows. Hull finishing with precision. It wasn't just execution. It was trust. Clark trusted Hull to be ready. Hull trusted herself to deliver. What made their partnership special was how both drew strength from their lowest moments. Clark, under constant scrutiny, found stability in teammates like Hull. Hull, in turn, drew inspiration from Clark's relentless drive. They reflected each other. Two different journeys converging into one shared mindset. No excuses. No fear. No retreat. As the season progressed, Hull's expanded role became undeniable. She evolved from a rotational piece into a reliable contributor. Fans and media noticed her confidence, her decisiveness, her willingness to take responsibility. But those closest to the team understood that her rise wasn't defined by statistics. It was mental growth. The doubts that once lingered after mistakes were gone. In their place stood belief. Injuries, pressure, and setbacks shaped both Hull and Clark in ways no highlight reel could capture. Their story isn't about instant success. It's about endurance. The kind built in rehab rooms, empty gyms, and quiet moments of self-reflection. Together, they redefined resilience. Not perfection, but persistence. Not dominance, but determination. And now the question remains: is this only the beginning of something bigger? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.